Hi, it's Carol Clark, your bariatric business boss. And you know I love everything bariatric business related. And I have been having a ton of questions come in through my inbox lately. And I thought, well, if one person has that question, I bet some other practices do. And they come in from all across the US, and it just gets me really jazzed. I love answering these questions. So I am going to take a question and answer that for you during this series of Q&A with Carol. And the first one that I'm going to address is a question that I got that relates to support groups. And the question was, do you find support groups are really helpful, and what percentage of patients typically attend? And this is a great question. And my honest answer is that I do think support groups are valuable. I do generally recommend that you have an on-site support group as well as an online support group. And they both can come with some joys and also some frustrations, but you can actually ease that quite a bit depending upon how you run your support groups. So I'm going to address the on-site first. So for the on-site ones, it typically will be more successful if you have a set day and time each month that you offer them. For example, we typically will do the second Wednesday of the month, and we have a meet and greet from 6:30 to 7, and then usually it runs from about 7 to 8. So having a set time, and you can it's so easy nowadays to poll people to see what might work, and you're never gonna make it right for everybody, but also look at your own schedule and that sort of thing. So the day and the time and the frequency will be one factor. So we do a monthly. I find that to be pretty effective. People have not asked for it more often than that. And if you go where you skip a month or so, then sometimes it just loses its whole vibe or energy. So the day and the time and the location. The location, I like to have it at your own practice. We've done them before, like at the hospital, and that's great because it might have more space, but really having them building that relationship with you at your office, if you have the space to do it, is really great. It's also helpful to also utilize for your little snacks, your protein products, your fruit juices that are protein based, and some of your bars, cutting them up and having that as some of your snacks. It also helps them taste new things. And if you have it at your office right where your store is, then oftentimes people may want to purchase on their way out or on their way in. So it's a great thing. You can also offer little discounts that particular night or do a free giveaway. You can make it really super fun. You could have a little protein cocktail party. You could do lots of different things, of course, minus the alcohol. So anyhow, the frequency, the time, the location, and the day. So that's one thing that can affect that. The other thing is you can look at your format. Most people like to come and they like to have some sort of a topic that's involved. And what we find is the behavior topics tend to be the most popular. For example, one on stress management, things on your self-image, managing your change, managing change, how to handle saboteurs, whether it's yourself or other people, those sorts of things, your behavior, eating in, eating out, that sort of thing. So those sorts of things are very popular. The other one that's very popular typically in most settings is involving someone from aesthetics or plastic surgery, because I know our average weight loss is about 123 pounds, and people tend to want some plastic surgery afterwards, some aesthetics. So having someone come in, whether you have a plastic surgeon in your practice or whether you partner with another one in the community, having them come in, it's a great way to attract people, and that's probably one of the most well-attended ones. So that's another thing, is what are your topics? And I like to have them set at the beginning of the year, and you may have a month where it's not fully determined, to be determined, but you want your schedule everywhere. You want them in your exam rooms, in your restrooms, in your lobby, so people know what to expect. So anyhow, your topics are really important. Those are some of the most popular ones. And interestingly enough, they also like open forums where they can just kind of come in and ask questions. And you can have, a member of your clinical team You can have the physician there as a caveat, depending. I know physicians have great relationships with their patients, and they're the best person to give the knowledge out. But sometimes they can be a little intimidating for people, and they might not ask the questions that they really want to ask. So you might want to try doing some with a physician and then some with just the practitioners in the practice. So you can do it either way. But open forums can also be a popular one. Another topic that's really cool is highlighting a patient success story. So you can do this as an entire support group, where you pick 4 people and maybe they each get 10 minutes to tell their story, or 5 to 10 minutes to tell their story and answer questions. It's also a great way to have people there who have great habits, and they can share that with other people. It means so much coming from someone who's had surgery before. So you can either do it that way, or I've also seen it very successful utilizing a success story at the beginning of each month. So just the beginning of the presentation, and then always leaving time for a little bit of a gathering ahead of time, and then some Q&A at the end. And you will find that will be really, really helpful. So those are a few tips for that. And they also love cooking topics, recipes, how to use spices, how to, make sure that you're keeping your carb count low. You can do one, and you don't have to have, a stove and a micro, all that stuff right there. You can kind of prepare some of the things and have them there, but they love to see, crock pot meals that are friendly for them, things that they can prepare ahead of time for meal prep and freeze or store, that sort of thing. Those are very popular topics as well. And you can just use your dietitian or your nutritionist, whoever you're using in your office, and you can do that. And they leave with a little book of recipes and or a little sample spice pack. I mean, there's lots of cool ways to make it really interesting. So that's one thing, is when you're having it and what topics are you offering. The next thing to do to make your support group successful is, how are you promoting it? Like I mentioned, you have to keep people energized about it, and you have to talk about it. You can't have it as a best kept secret. So you want to set your schedule, and you want to have that around the office. Use a program like canva.com. It's free. You can make really attractive posters, little 8.5 by 11 little posters to put around, keeping them in all the exam rooms. We always have an educational little poster board where we can put things on that in the bathrooms on the back of the door. Always helpful, like I say, in your lobby. And just making sure that it's top of mind as your counselors are meeting with people. They have a handout that they can give to people, remind them. You also want to utilize your email messaging system. If you don't have one, reach out to me. You can have some really creative emails, use lots of graphics. They're so easy to use, and send those reminders out to people. You want to send it out about a week ahead of time, and then the day before, and then the day of. You want to make sure that you're reminding them. People get busy. So you want to make sure that you're doing that. If you have a text messaging system, you can use that as well. You could, you also just want to make sure that you're posting it on your social media and that sort of thing. You could even have whoever's doing the topic do a quick little video just off their phone, just talk a little bit about teasers about what they're going to cover at support group. So those are all some really great ways to get your support group increasing in terms of people coming in. A topic that people don't usually like for support group, but I do recommend including it because it's so important, and that's fitness. So you want to have a dynamic person who can talk about, fitness at every level, or yoga, something that that the majority of people that are attending can benefit from and won't be fearful of. The other thing is, we encourage everyone before they have surgery to come to support group. And it's a great way to have them kind of meet other patients, get to know your team better, just get to know the whole feel of your office. We do really encourage that. And you can do it whether you're a surgical practice or a medical practice, or whether you have both in your practice. So I do encourage that. So those are my tips for an on-site support group. And then the other thing is an online. A lot of times people are fearful of this. I find that it is actually helpful to have a private Facebook group. And I do have 2 of my team that monitor that. And interestingly, we also have set rules for what people can post in there. We don't want people coming in there and trying to promote products or their own personal brand of something or their whatever it is that they do in their life. It's really meant to be supportive. So we'll post you can keep it very interesting to post a few questions in there. People will get involved. We actually do allow people who haven't even had surgery here. They don't have access to support. It depends. We will contact them separately. They do have to request to become a member, and we have to approve their request to become a member. You can set little questions if you want. We don't get that detail. And if we don't recognize them as one of our patients, we'll reach out to them, and then we will see, what their story is. And because you do want to make sure you're keeping it to a group of people that are really going to be supportive to each other. Interestingly enough, I was going to say, if someone posts something, let's say you have a post-op patient and they go in there, and a lot of times right after surgery, people sometimes are like, what the heck have I done? And they may post that in there, and it's amazing how many people who are farther out will be like, I felt the same way. You're gonna just get through one day at a time, 1 week at a time. It's all worth it. I wish I would have done it sooner. It's amazing how they will all come in there. And if it's a real medical question, they actually get trained to say, hey, call the office and talk to them because you don't want to be doing medical advice over Facebook, of course. So, but having it as a private group that they have to request to join, having set rules, and then having a couple team members that monitor that will make that really pretty easy. It's become really not any sort of a workload for the team here. The patients kind of self-monitor each other, and it's amazing how they rally around each other when somebody might be struggling, and in a very appropriate way. So I do encourage online and on-site support groups, and those are some tips for keeping them interesting, keeping your attendance up, and keeping them coming back and helping to build that relationship, which is so important with your patients. And I do encourage people who are contemplating joining your program to be a part of the support group as well. Like I say, they'll meet friends, they'll see that this isn't as scary perhaps, they'll understand that you don't have to, you just have to take that first step. So those are my tips, and that was a great question that came from the Midwest, and I appreciate that. I've got a whole boatload of them, and if you have questions, reach out to me, Karol, Karol, at Weight Loss Practice Builder, and I would love to answer them for you. If you're not a member of Bariatric Business Boss, where we do deep dives every month into marketing campaigns, social media, management of your team, how to improve their performance, we talk about all things social media, retail. It's very in-depth with lots of turnkey marketing programs and things you can use right away. And then I also do one-on-one consulting with you. It's so fun for me. So if you're not a member yet, check out bariatricbusinessboss.com, and I will talk to you next time for Q&A with Karol. Take care.